All rise, veuillez vous lever. The International Criminal Court is now in session. La audience à la Cour pénale internationale est ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Yes, good morning, all. Appearances this morning, please. Actually, I suppose we ought to call the case. We didn't do that at the status conference. Let's call the case this morning.
Good morning, Madam President, Your Honors. This is the situation in Darfur, Sudan, in the case of the prosecutor versus Ali Muhammad Ali Abd Al Rahman. Case reference ICC 0205 0120, and for the record, we're in open session.
Yes, thank you. Yes, can we have the appearance this morning, first of all, from the representatives of the victims?
Well, thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, dear colleagues. Good morning to everyone in and around the courtroom. The victims today are represented by my associate counsel Anan Shah behind me. Next to me, case manager Saif Cassis. Behind me, our visiting professional Charlotte Imhof, and myself, Nathalie von Wistinghausen.
Microphone, please.
Sorry. I can hear you in court, but I wasn't getting anything through my earphones. Helps if you push in the mic. Yes, thank you very much. Don't worry to say it all again. Right. Yes, defense.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, dear colleagues, and good morning to the members of the public. Together with Mr. Ali Muhammad Ali Abd Al Rahman present in the courtroom this morning, we have Mr. Thomas Châtelet, who is our intern in the defense team, Madame Marcela Velarde, assistant evidence reviewer, Mr. Ahmad Issa, our case manager, Madame Audrey Matteo, our legal advisor, my colleague Ian Edwards, and myself, Cyril Lauchi, counsel.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Lauchi. Except my live note is frozen. Nothing's moving on it. Okay. Is the French version's working? Or not?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Yes, okay. Prosecution then.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everybody. Rachel Mazzarella, Claire Sabatini, and myself, Julian Nichols. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Can I just, sorry, Madam President, I just want to make sure, or can I verify with the court officer that the protective measures are in place, like face and voice distortion? It wasn't very clear to me, and I just want to make sure that's the case.
I can confirm that the protective measures are in place and have been tested accordingly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Ms. Lauchi.
Yes, and another verification of the same kind. Actually, I checked this morning just to be sure, but I was informed that, actually not informed, we are not sure that there is a broadcast functioning for this session and maybe for the other sessions of the week. That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, Ms. Lauchi, I understand that because of the events which have caused all these problems to the various court systems, there is no public broadcast. What's going to happen, I'm told, is that particularly your opening will be put out on YouTube. I wasn't aware, but apparently there is a YouTube channel which deals with it. But not at the same time as you're speaking, I'm afraid.
And do you have any idea of the delay between the two?
Same day, I'm told.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right. Yes. Sir, thank you very much for attending. Can I make sure that you are able to hear and understand what is happening in court.
He obviously doesn't hear us, and also the English live notes are not working.
No, I've just said that. English Live Note is definitely not working. Sir, can you hear me at all? Well, you can hear me, but judging by the fact there's no interpretation, I don't think they can hear you. Could you say something, sir? Could you say something, just so that we can get interpretation?
The witness speaks in English.
Well, he may have spoken in English, but I couldn't hear anything. Did you hear anything, Miss Augustine? Channel 2?
Well, you could hear it on channel 0, which is like the original, but I think we didn't get any translation. And also we couldn't hear him.
Okay, what language is he going to be speaking in with one listening? English or Arabic or Fur?
He's going to speak Arabic.
Arabic. Right, well then we need to stay on the translation channel. All right, well anyhow, sir, if you can hear me, let's see how we go with Miss von Wistinghausen.
Well, I think he has to... No, he doesn't have to. Okay. Yeah, no, it's just... Okay. So, good morning, sir. It's very good to see you on the screen and to have you with us here in the courtroom. Obviously, we would all have wanted to have you.
Good morning, peace be upon you all. I'm happy to be with you here.
Very good. We would have wanted to have you here with us in person. That wasn't possible, but I can assure you that your presence on the screen is what's the word? Well, it's as if you were with us here in the room. We will, and we talked about this yesterday.
Yes, indeed. I am here present on the screen as if I was there personally.
Very good. We briefly spoke about this yesterday, that everything you say is going to be translated to English for the two judges on the right and to French for the judge on the left. So there are interpreters sitting up here in the courtroom and translating first to English and then to French. Why am I saying this? Because it's important that you speak slowly so that they have the time to catch everything, the interpreters, and translate it to these two languages. The judges don't want to miss any of what you're saying. So please try to speak slowly and wait until you get the interpretation before you start speaking. All right?
Very well. No problem at all. I personally would need the interpretation.
Are you not getting an interpretation to Arabic?
Yes, I do get interpretation.
Okay, if at any time you don't get an interpretation or anything that I say is unclear, please let us know. And also, of course, anytime you need a break outside of the normal break times, also let us know, okay?
Very well.
All right, Madam President, I need a closed session of probably 1 or 2 minutes, please.
Yes, I will go into closed session for a couple of minutes.
We're back in open session, Madam President.
All right, so we are back to open session. Can you tell the judges what level of education you have?
I have a Sudanese certificate or degree.
And is it correct that back in 2003 you served as a volunteer teacher in your home village?
That's correct. Yes, I worked from 2003.
And what work do you do today?
I still work as a teacher.
And what subjects do you teach?
Science and Arabic. Science and Arabic.
And can you let us know if this is a paid occupation? Are you paid for what you're doing as a teacher?
Education is popularly is funded by the population.
That means that you're paid by voluntary contributions of the parents. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So we will first go back to 2003, and I will ask you to tell us more about life in Darfur, in your home village, before the attacks in 2003. So in 2003, your home village, and we agree that you don't name it, was located in the locality of Mukjar. And it is located in the general area of the town of Delej. Is that right?
Yes, it's the locality of Delej. It's a separate locality. And my village is located in the locality of Delej, yes.
Can you tell us how many people lived in your home village, and what ethnic groups were represented in your home village?
The people who lived in my village are no fewer than 1,000 family. 1,000 families. And they all are four.
Were there other villages in the area of your home village? And What was the tribe of ethnicity of the people there?
There are other neighboring villages, more than about 10 or 11 villages. And they are not far from each other. And they all belong to the four ethnicity. This is the area.
And can you tell us about the relationship between the people of your home village and the surrounding villages?
The relationship between people in the countryside is built on social relationships. People cooperate with each other. There is harmony. We have solidarity with each other. We live the same condition, so we are in the same status.
Can you tell us about any special traditions in the community or celebrations that took place in your community at the time?
Yes, every community has their own traditions, norms, and some occasions where when people celebrate together. For example, circumcision, and sometimes education too. For example, those people who study in the Quran schools, Islamic schools, we celebrate this when they graduate. So there is participation, societal participation from all the villages. So this is a collective celebration. Sound is breaking up.
Can you hear me well, sir?
Yes, I do. I can hear you.
Maybe just for the interpreters, if it breaks up for you, let me know, because I can't hear the original. Yes, sir, can you describe to us the area surrounding your home village? What did it look like? The forests, hills, greenery?
The east of Arawallah, the south of Dilage, and east of Arawallah, there is a mountain chain, mountain ridge, from the northern side and the eastern side. Note from the interpreter, the sound is breaking up again. There are also forests. There are plains. There is also a big valley in the center of this area.
In 2000,
And the population works mainly on farming. And some work in trade.
in 2003, sir, were you married? And did you have children?
Answer, yes. I was married and I had 3 children.
And what age were the children at that time in 2003?
My eldest was born in 1999 because I was married in 1998. My second eldest was born in 2002, and the youngest was born in the same month of another year. The same month where the conflict broke out.
And can you tell us about you and your family's life prior to the attack on your home village? Like, what livestock did you have? How did you live? Did you do farming? Describe to us a little bit the life of your family.
Answer. The life in the countryside was a simple life. Farming or agriculture was the main profession in the area. So if a person lives there, this person would be a farmer. So most people or every person was a farmer or was working in agriculture, and the people relied mostly on agriculture in their livelihoods. During summer, people rely completely on the crops harvested in autumn. And during summer, people plant some vegetables or legumes. There would be fewer livestock. So in some areas there would be more livestock than others. So livestock is not equally distributed among the area. However, the presence of livestock was necessary. It was necessary to have goats, at least, as well as camels and cows, because these would help us economically and to help us in our livelihoods.
And did you or your family sell any crops? And did you own any livestock?
Answer. We had cattle and goats, sheep. So these are the ones we had, as well as cows. We used to sell corn. So the family used to plant, harvest, and sell. We also had a part of our crops that were for household use, for our household use.
And you lived, like many people in your community, in small huts, grouped together in a compound. Is that all right?
Answer. Yes. People lived in small communities, in family communities. So the family can be a big family. The father is the founder of the family, or the one who establishes it. The father builds the small hut using local substances or material. They can also use mud for the construction of the huts. and the entire family would live there. And recently, the system changed, the system of construction, of building system changed. So inside the hut, there would be a shape of a dabanga or a storage room or a silo that protects the grains such as millet and other types of grains as well as agricultural crops. So everything stored inside these silos would be protected. In case of fire, the dabanga or the silo would be safe from it because it's built from a material that is resistant to fire. So this is how the housing looked like. And this is how we used to store our crops.
And where did the people in your village get water from?
Answer. There were two ways to get water in the village. The first way is through wells. So there are underground water. Message from the interpreter, the sound is breaking up again. I already told you that in the middle of the area, there is a valley that gets its water from the mountains. And in this valley, at the end of autumn, it would have current water, running water. So this can be a source of water for us. So sometimes people would go there to get water. So this is how the two ways from which we used to get water in the area.
And can you tell us if the government at the time provided any services to your area? Like were any officials based in your home village or in surrounding villages, like police, for example?
Answer. The government is supposed to provide services. For example, education, health services. However, these services were not present, were not available. A message from the interpreter, the sound is breaking up again. So at schools, you would rarely have available teachers. So for example, teachers would be available at the last 3 months of the academic year, and the children wouldn't get sufficient education during this year. So educational services from the government were very weak. When it comes to health care, I can say that there were no health services provided. And in the 12 villages that were present in the area, there was only one health center. However, in this health center, for example, the building would be of a very bad quality. It would be partially destroyed, and medical services would be limited. The center would not be properly equipped and would only provide first aid as well as antibiotics. The most modern service it would provide is bandages to wounds. However, more serious injuries or illnesses would be transferred to other areas. So healthcare was not provided, it was not available. So we had this municipal system in healthcare, and women were covered in this system. And if the case that they receive in this system, the health case that they receive in this system is a bit difficult, the patient has to be sent to the city that is at least 40 to 50 kilometers away from the village. Transportation was not available as well, and people used to rely on people traveling from area to area to get medication. So, for example, if there is a woman who is ill, some sort of a bed would be provided for her, placed on a camel back, and then she has to travel on the camel. And there's a possibility that this person would reach their destination or not. When a woman is in labor or in birth cases, there are lots of accidents when it comes to this. And we have also lots of chronic diseases that we don't have any treatment for.
Let's speak a little bit about schooling, which is an area that you know very well. And we are still at the time before the start of the conflict. Can you tell us what level of education schools could provide, and if school and education was something important to the full community in your area?
Answer. Can you please repeat the question? The sound was breaking up.
Yes, of course. Let's speak a little bit more about schooling, an area that you know well. And we are still at the time before the attacks in 2003 in your home village. Can you tell us what level of education did the school provide for? And if education was something important for your community in your area?
Answer. The level of education was low. I told you that there are 11 villages that are not far from one another, and there would be only one school for all these villages. The school was established in 1975, but it's a simple school, primary education that only provides a little education. I only remember that in only 1 year, students passed or completed their academic year. But I don't know, or I don't remember much about it as well. So schooling services were very weak in the area. And the education was not given a lot of importance, like in terms of providing these services. However, despite the scarcity of educational services, most people had to go study Islamic studies or to study the Quran. and you would have more than 15 to 30 persons who have memorized the Quran in each village. So this changed in the recent period because the situation does not allow it, and people are not able to send their children to school or to get any education.
I would also like you to explain what the community leadership structures were like in your home village and also in the wider region. So for example, what was the role of the various community leaders? Can you explain that to us, please?
Answer. The system that was in place had 2 or 3 levels. There was also the political system that comes from the government authority, and then we have the locality, and there are exchanges between these authorities. So there would be a person who is representing the government in each area. So we have also a constant system, that is the local system, the local administration system. This is a constant, a stable system that doesn't change like the government. So this is composed of the sheikh, who is the closest person to the citizens. This sheikh would be present in the village. And then, higher than the sheikh, we have the umda. And after the umda, we have the shartai. The shartai would have a hakura, or like a compound of homes. So the sheikh is the popular leader because he's the closest to the villagers or to the citizens. And the sheikhs, 15 to 16 sheikhs, can elect or choose a umda, who would be the leader of the sheikhs. The umdas also choose a shartai. And the shartai would be leading the umda. So this is the structure of the administration in the area. So this is how the administrative hierarchy was composed of in the area. So the sheikh was the closest person to the citizens. The sheikh has a social role, and that is solving local problems on the level of the village. The sheikh can also solve family problems or some problems that can occur in agriculture. So, for example, if there are conflict on the borders of farms, some conflicts can happen or some differences can happen between the citizens. Therefore, the sheikh can establish a commission in the village in order to reconciliate the people. In case the problem is a bit more complicated, then it's sent to the umda. If the sheikh cannot solve it, the problem is sent to the umda, and then if the umda cannot solve it, it's sent to the shartai, and if the shartai cannot solve it, then it goes to the judge. However, most problems are solved on lower levels. because we have a concept that is all people are relatives, so they reconcile with each other and they can find solutions to their differences in an amicable way.
In times of difficulties or of crisis, did the community leaders have a special role?
Answer: yes. The leaders in times of crisis are the ones we rely on. So they give some sort of tranquility to the people. They calm the people down. They can ask the people to be patient in case there's a problem somewhere by the time this problem would be solved. So they keep the people calm, and they follow up on the problems in order to solve them. So this is the custom that we have. However, when the issues or the conflict of 2003 erupted, there were political interferences. Some administrations were affected by the government, and they changed their way of work based on what the government told them to do. Some other leaders kept working based on the system that they had before. However, this does not mean that the administrative system stayed as it was. Sometimes this system became more of an individualist system, and this system became weak and it was not sustainable.
We will move, sir, to the attacks on your home village and the fleeing after that. But just before I start asking you questions about that, I would like to know if before the conflict you and your family ever visited Delej. Is it a place where you regularly went to?
Answer: yes. Delej was the crossing point from our area to Niala and other areas. So it was the transit area. It was a locality. And for the areas that are located to the east of Arwella, it was difficult to reach them by car. So people used to travel using animals to Delej. And then from Delej, they could go to Niala, to Zalinji, or to the east of Sudan, or any other place from Niala. If we were in the eastern part, we want to go towards the west, we have to go through Delej in order to reach the final destination. So Delej was a center for people to meet at the transit center. It was also a center for trade and for commerce, where people used to go and sell their goods in Delej. And also people used to go to Delej in order to satisfy some personal needs, some individual needs.
And do you know approximately how many people lived in Delej in 2003?
Answer. Honestly, I'm unable to specify the number of people who lived there, but Delage was considered a big village. It's more like a locality. If there were in my village approximately 1,000 household, then in the village there wouldn't be less than 2,000 to 3,000. However, now I think there are at least 10 to 15,000 people in there at the moment.
Let us speak now about the attacks on your home village. And I understand from conversations that we had that after the outbreak of conflict in Darfur in 2003, there were multiple attacks on your village prior to a final attack, if I may call it so, in December 2003. Can you tell us what happened during these earlier attacks?
Answer. As citizens there, we did not have any background and we did not know anything about the conflict. Suddenly, in the morning, we woke up and there was an attack. People armed to the teeth on horsebacks and on donkey back and camel back as well. So these people attacked the village, and this was surprising for the citizens, for the villagers. They did not understand what was happening at the beginning. And without any introductions, they started shooting rounds immediately. So the situation was, for us, like a mirage between imagination and reality, between fiction and reality. So the people started fleeing from the village towards the valleys surrounding the area. Because surrounding the area, there are lots of valleys. There's the valley and some abundant forests. So the nature was a refuge for a large number of citizens. Also, the crops in autumn, they were tall. And some people went to the fields and hid between the plants that were there. The attackers were hasty. They were not scrutinizing every single location to see if there's somebody hidden somewhere, hiding somewhere. So they were just attacking us, and they attacked us several times, maybe more than 5 times. So they attacked the village. The people went to the mountains. So some of the attackers went to the farms. They went to the village. So in general, this was the shape of the attack. In addition, people suffered from difficult situation back then. So this was a difficult situation for us. It's difficult to remember these. So imagine yourself in a valley, and the straw was very tall, and you were hiding in between, and then there was heavy rain as well. So people were staying outside, and the children were crying. And then when the attackers would hear the sound of children in the farms, they would start shooting randomly. So this was This was how the attack, this is how I remember the attack. This was difficult for me. It was an emotional moment. And the children went into very difficult, very dire situation.
Thank you, sir. And I apologize for having to bring back these sad memories to you. But on the other hand, this is the important role that you're playing today in this courtroom. And it's important that you share this with us. And I will have to ask you to tell us or to describe us what you personally saw and experienced during the attack in December 2003 on your home village, the final attack, if I may say. Can you please share with us what happened to you and to your family? And I just want to reiterate that whenever you need a break, please let us know. We know it's not easy for you to speak about these events.
Yes, indeed, it's difficult, yet necessary to speak. It is necessary to speak. So we need to talk about these events so that people understand what happened. As for the attack, it resulted in casualties, people from the villages. People are scattered in the villages. So people were killed in mass murdering, mass killing. And some people were buried in mass graves, and some people were just left like that. There were some scenes where people would, for example, someone sitting or hiding with his family, sister, mother, they would be hiding somewhere in the mountain, and then they would be discovered and all of them would be shot dead. I remember one incident. We had a person called Yaqub, and he was with his son, and the father was talking to them. He said, take me, but leave this child, he's still young, leave him. You can kill me, but please spare my son's life. There was a difficulty hearing the testimony. There's a difficulty with the sound coming from the witness. Is it clear? Is my voice clear? The witness says.
Sir, I'm afraid you will have to repeat this last answer because there are problems with the connectivity and the interpreters didn't hear you well. Yes, and maybe for the interpreters, it's difficult for me to judge if you're losing parts of the account of my client or not. It's really for you to tell if you think you can interpret adequately.
Yes, there were many incidents. They would hunt people down. They would like as if they were hunting. I remember Mr. Haroun and his son. They were hiding somewhere, and when the Janjaweed came and saw them, he aimed the gun at them. So the elder man said, kill me, but please spare my son's life. He's still young and he has a life ahead of him. but unfortunately they shot his son before shooting him. So we buried them in one grave. This is one incident I remember. There were so many other incidents. For example, they would kill 4 people, 2 people, and this is unconceivable. It's inconceivable. They killed more than 70 or 80, about 70 to 80 people. Those people were imprisoned in Delage at that time.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt for a moment, sir? The incident you described of the father and his son, is that an incident you saw yourself, or is it something that you were told about?
These incidents were numerous. Some we saw and some we heard about. But this incident about Harun, it was close to the mountain, and he yelled in a high voice, loud voice, so everybody could hear. And everyone could see the Janjaweed approaching Harun, and we could see this happening. And after they shot them, we went to that place and we saw them dead.
Can you, sir, specifically describe what happened to your family compound, the huts, your property?
Personally speaking, all the huts were similar to each other, but they were all burned down. We were not able to conceive what was happening. And we didn't understand that there was a political reason behind this. We didn't understand that. We thought that this was one of the tribal issues that was happening. But people would flee to the mountain and then come back. So we thought that there would be stability after this. The village was burnt 4 times. The first time it was burned down, and the second time they came back and burned it down. And the third time we built a rakuba, some structure called rakuba, and it was in a circular shape. So it was some sort of shade built on 4 pillars. And because we were in the mountains, so if we heard any noise or noise of people approaching, we would flee to the mountains. We would even take our children. So that practice was becoming common and familiar with amongst people. Sound is breaking up again, says the interpreter. This is what happened. So the family would be composed of brothers or siblings, and many of them were martyred, were just killed. So these incidents, these conflicts in Darfur, you could hardly find a family that was spared, that didn't have a family member who was killed, and so on and so forth.
When you eventually fled your home village after the December 2003 attack, was there anything left of your house, your property, your livestock, or was everything burnt and lost?
The whole village was burned out, not just my home. Sound is breaking up again. So, it's difficult to hear the witness.
Just pause for a minute, would you, Miss Van Housen? Is there somebody there with the witness? I think it may be sitting too far from the mic. It does appear, Ms. von Wissehaus, there are some connection issues which they're going to try and sort in the break. For the moment, the best we can do is ask him to sit a little closer to the microphone.
So there are connectivity internet issues. We will try to get a better connection during the break, but for the moment I will ask you to sit as close as possible to the microphone. And if you can please repeat your last answer, if you remember the question I posed, because the interpreters didn't catch everything.
You asked me if my property was burnt down or if I had lost everything. Wasn't that the question? And I answered that all I had was burnt, everything was taken away, whatever they didn't burn, they took with them, not just my property, but all the village. So, for example, the area where our crops are stored inside the homes, this would be fireproof. So, if it didn't if they didn't burn it down, they would break it. The silos, so they would take also part of these crops with them. So they would take that with them.
You fled to the surrounding mountains. Can you tell us if your family was with you? And can you describe the situation there in the mountains?
Yes. Everybody would flee to the mountain and would take their family members, starting with children, because they had the most priority. And then you would follow, you would catch up with your family members. Life in the mountain was extremely difficult. People would sit or stay there for the whole day without a sip of water, except if they could find water from the wells that I mentioned before. And sometimes the Janjaweed would come down around the mountain, and they would shoot up the mountain towards randomly, and some people got injured. And they would need treatment, but we would only use traditional healing techniques using tree leaves and similar things. We would just use local products. But if a person would go out to seek treatment, he would be killed, or she would be killed. That was the policy of the country.
Can you describe what was the feeling among the people? Were they like hopeful that they may be able to go back one day? Can you remember what kind of discussions there were amongst you and the others who had to flee?
The reason people stayed longer in the mountains was the hope that they would be able to return to their places of origin. They thought that this was a tribal war, a conflict, then after a few weeks or a month they would be able to return. There's a connection issue, but eventually people lost hope, and after a few months people lost hope. Some people went early on because they were afraid, so they went only early on to Delage. If you would be going...
Wondering whether, rather than going on like this, we adjourn, we take the break now, and see if they can fix this problem. It's up to you.
It's. I mean, I'm in the hands of the technicians. Of course, I have a hope that things can be improved. Sir, the presiding judge is suggesting, and I'm sorry we interrupt you, to take the break now. And to see if the technicians can fix the connectivity or improve the connectivity so that we can better understand you. All right?
So that you don't have to repeat everything. How
Answer, no problems at all.
Right, I'm told that we think we can fix this within half an hour, so we'll adjourn now, and sit again at 11:15. Yes, thank you.
All right,
Your
veuillez
Honor.
vous lever.
Yes. Your Honour, this needn't detain the witness, of course.
Yes, well, the witness can take the break then. I can leave the room. Whatever it is.
I just wanted to highlight that we won't have any questions for this gentleman. He's not giving evidence. He's providing his views and opinions, views and concerns. He hasn't been sworn in, as it were. I know Your Honour raised a matter relating to hearsay. Was this something that he heard himself? But it's not a point we would take. We just underscore that this is not evidence.
No, I'm well aware. Well aware of that, Mr. Evans.
Yes.
But it does have a relevance it may have relevance at a later stage.
Yes. Yes.
And therefore, from that point of view, it's still important for the Chamber to know whether this is something he was told about or actually saw himself.
Quite. Yes.
But I'm well aware this is not evidence. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Right, yes, we'll adjourn now. We'll say 11:20 as we've gone on.
11:20.
Yeah, 11:20.
All right, veuillez vous lever.